like run us through your consultation if you can about like how you're having these conversations, because I think that's another big barrier for new to myopia doctors, where it's like, all right, um, how do I get the parents into it? Because usually you're talking to mom most of the time, in my experience,
Yeah.
and either her husband, her partner, whatever the case may be, there's another person in this part of this equation. It could be, the kids have parents that are separated, or at the very least, the other parent wasn't there.
Hmm.
So how do you have like how do you engage them in your consultation? Like, and were there any like hard learned lessons over the years of like, okay, I came on too strong, or I should have talked about this? Because I've heard stories from some docs who are like, I feel like I should just blast them with all of this information, right? Like,
Yeah.
give them everything I can. And I think oftentimes that works against what you're trying to do. But then
Hmm.
one of the things I love about myopia management docs is that everybody's consultation is essentially different. It's like it's unique to them as a practitioner. So how do you do your consults?
Yeah. So our consultations are typically, if I have time, I'll do it the same day as their exam. But usually you're talking about if I bring them
Yeah,
back for a dedicated consultation. Yeah.
yeah,
So I'll sit down and just one, as a clinician, I always like to tell them what I'm finding, like in terms of the numbers, axial length, prescription. Um, One of the things I've started to do is like I forget if I mentioned I'm building out this software program for consultate like to assess risk and kind of have put in like a more parent friendly kind of
hmm
information and compact it so we could give it to a parent. So I've built that out. We're kind of looking for beta testers now for it, but hopefully I'm excited for it and hopefully we'll get it out soon. But I use that to like graph the information so they could visualize it better. That's really
Okay.
helped. And prior to that, and I still do it. I created a handout of like why myopia. So instead of like you said, a practitioner just blasting all the information, saying everything. I mean, the parents I feel like will be overwhelmed and won't really absorb it all.
Yeah.
So we have a handout that will give parents, even at the end of their full exam, and to think about it and book back for a consultation. But I'll give it to them again at the consultation. So when they sit down, I give it to them. So while I'm talking, they have on that sheet all the treatment options, and then it just makes it easier. I don't have to go through all of them. It's spelled out on the sheet, but I could tell them the rate of success based on the research and studies. And then I could go into more of their questions and the specifics of what I would recommend and why. So I really focus on what I think would be best for your child. And this is the reason why.
hmm
And I'll send that home, like if they're not ready, and we'll have that discussion, right? Like as a like I'll discuss with the parent and the child. And I make it a group discussion.
hmm
So I want to make sure the child's on board and what they want. Their preference is heard, right? Even if like mom already wants to do one thing and like I said, the child doesn't want to do, it's usually like, I don't want to do contacts, right? Or I really want to do contacts. And the parent's like, no, you're not ready for contact lenses. It's
Yeah.
either one of those. But I want to make sure the child's voice is heard as well. So I do make it a group discussion and I try to answer questions individually. And
hmm
I try to speak to the child so that their questions are being answered properly,
hmm
um, and their voice is being heard. So it's kind of how our conversations or consultations would go. It's kind of just like my recommendation, and then we have like a group discussion as to or family discussion as to what might be best.
And how do you specifically engage the child? Because I think that this is another big stumbling block for a lot of ECPs is like, it's one thing to be good with kids, and it's another to be able to communicate with them as a patient. So how, like, what kind of techniques did you learn? Like, what kind of questions do you ask them? Like, how, like, is there a special way that you engage with them in order to, answer these questions?
Yeah, I don't know if I do specifically have. I mean, I guess I work with kids so much; it's just natural. I mean, I have kids at home. It's just like, hey, what do you think? Like, we've been talking about this, and I talked about these contact lenses. I've talked about these glasses. What do you think you might like? Right? It's just like getting to their language and keeping it simple for them, and breaking it down and kind of um, yeah, just kind of keeping it simple, really, in terms of what do you think, and keep it open ended as well.
And with the child being then more engaged, does that then translate into them having more um, investment or buy-in? Like if it's ortho-k, for instance, does that help translate into a kid who's able to, as a patient, like be more responsible with their lens wear and care? Does that produce, in your opinion, like a better equipped patient? Like engaging them on their level, essentially, does that give them more buy-in to the process?
I think they would feel more involved in the decision, and yes, more buy-in. The fact that we really haven't had anyone change modalities like right off the bat, and they whatever we've chosen, we followed through with it. Like I can't off the top of my head remember if we just kind of switched gears and it didn't go through with something. So the fact that everyone, whatever their decision initially, I mean, in terms of myopia management, we might do something for a year or 2 years and then switch gears and we're like, okay, let's try this instead, or our preference has changed, or like, I'm ready for this, I want to try this. So that might happen, but kind of doing that initial um, selection, I guess you
Mhm.
could say. Um, yeah, everyone's kind of followed through with it. Yeah.
If you're interested in getting the rest of the episode, consider becoming a paid supporter of the Myopia Mindset. In addition to an extended version of this episode and every other episode that we do, you'll also get access to exclusive monthly bonus episodes of the Myopia Mindset. And I know you're interested. You've made it this far. You can do so on our Substack, myopiamindset.substack.com. I'll see you at the next one.